Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today by the title you can see that I'm gonna be talking about my 13 and pregnant story. So I was in the 7th grade. I was 13 years old, and me and my baby daddy, we were like messing around. We would always we'll go to the movies, we'll go to the park, like we'll mess around or whatever. And one day I just got pregnant, and like I kept my whole pregnancy a secret. I was like 6 months pregnant whenever my family found out, but I found out I was pregnant because I was starting getting a lot of symptoms. I was throwing up every morning. I was peeing a lot. My breasts started hurting really bad. They were like swollen, like they were hard. And the number one thing that like made me know like I was pregnant is every time my grandma would cook food that I love so much, I would start getting so nauseated. Like it smells so bad where like I would want to throw up. And so I remember one day I was like, I looked up the symptoms and I was like, I'm pregnant. Like I know I'm pregnant. There's like, I know I'm pregnant. I can't be sick. Like I know I'm pregnant. And I was 1 month, I was like, I got pregnant March 18th and this was in April. So I had missed my period also. And I remember telling my two closest friends, Celeste and Dominique, like I think I was pregnant. And so they gave me a pregnancy test and I took it and they came out positive. And I remember texting my baby daddy. I was like, we need to talk, like call me. And he called me and he was like, I was telling him like how I think I'm pregnant. And he was like, well, what are you gonna do if you're pregnant? Like, are you sure you're pregnant? And so that was it basically. I never really told I never told my people until I was like 6 months pregnant. So from that day to 6 months, I would like try to ignore the fact that I was pregnant. Like I would just keep doing what I was doing, but like nothing bad, okay? But I was continue doing what I was doing. I tried to ignore the fact that I was pregnant until my grandma found out I was pregnant. She does these things with magnets where like she could check your body, see like if you're sick, if you have cancer, you have a tumor, you have the flu, you have any infections. She like checks your body and your body tells you what you have. And one day she was checking me and it came out that I was pregnant. And she was like, Mija, you're pregnant. I was like, no, I'm not. And I remember she was like, yes you are. And she like she felt my stomach and she was moving it around. She's like, estás embarazada. And I remember just crying, and I went to the restroom and I was crying. And my grandma, she came to hug me. She's like, it's okay, Mija, like it's okay, like there's nothing else we can do, like it already happened, it's okay. She was disappointed, but she wasn't like angry at me where she was yelling at me. And so I told her, I was like, okay, but like please don't tell nobody, please don't tell nobody yet. And the same day she calls my tia, she calls my dad, she tells my grandma. And I remember we went to my dad's house, and that's whenever she told my dad. And I was in my room, I didn't know she was telling my dad. And so my dad like came to my room and he started yelling at me. He's like, who's the baby daddy, who's the baby daddy? Like he wanted to fight somebody. Like he was very angry. And so like I would be too. I was 13 years old, you know. So like for a whole week he was mad at me. And my baby daddy, he was telling me how he was going through problems with his family. Like he didn't want me to tell them who he was, because he didn't want to tell his mom yet, basically. And so I didn't tell my family who he was because I was trying to protect him, which I shouldn't have done. I should have like did me. I should have told them, you know, because that made me look bad. But so like I didn't tell them who my baby daddy was until like I had my son. I remember like going to the doctors, and my grandma took me. My grandma, she's the one who's been there. She's been there for me for my whole pregnancy. She took me to all my doctor's appointments. She was there whenever I gave birth. She cut my son's umbilical cord. So my grandma was always there for me because I had no one to take me to places. So my grandma did. And so I remember my first like doctor's appointment, I heard my son's heartbeat. And it's just, I don't want to cry, okay? But I remember looking at his ultrasound and I was like, I'm gonna have him. Like I'm gonna keep him. That's my baby. I'm gonna finish school and I'm gonna have him. Like that's my kid. And so I remember from that day on, I prayed every night that my son came out healthy and that he was perfectly fine and that nothing happened, like nothing wrong, that he wasn't gonna come out with anything bad, you know. So I had told my baby daddy, like, oh, I told my parents already. I went to the doctor's appointment and I was sending him pictures of like my son's ultrasound, and my baby daddy was like, oh, he looks like me, he has my lips. I was like, oh no, I think I told him that. I was like, he has your lips and I think your nose. He's like, yeah, he's gonna come out sexy like me, like playing around. And from that day, like, he would always like text me to check up on the baby. He was like, how's the baby? And I would tell him like, oh, like, I think he's gonna have a lot of hair because I'm getting like so many heartburns. And like, we would just talk like about it, you know. He was there for me basically. And so towards the ending of my pregnancy, oh, by the way guys, I was in 8th grade now, and I became homeschooled because people around school were talking about me, and I honestly didn't want to be like the center of attention that I'm pregnant, you know. So I became homeschooled, and towards the ending of my pregnancy, my baby daddy switched up on me. He was like, that's not my kid, I want a DNA test, that's not my kid, this and that. And he had got back with this girl that he's been on and off with. Like, I never knew who she was until like that day. And he was like, I want a future with my girlfriend, like I don't want anything to do with you and this and that. And honestly, that made me feel like shit. I remember I was crying really bad. So I remember, like, I was like, okay, well, like, if you want a DNA test and pay for it, like, I know that's your kid 100%. And he was like, no, I'm not gonna pay for no DNA test because you're gonna have to prove it to me that that's my kid. I was like, I'm not gonna pay for no DNA test. Like, I know 100% that's your kid. He's like, okay, we can go half. I was like, no, like, I'm not paying nothing. I'm not gonna waste my money on something that I already know. That $300 can go on my son, you know, whenever he's born. And so I was like, if he wants to be like that, like, I'm gonna put him on child support. And honestly, I didn't want to put him on child support. Like, I was just gonna leave it like that, but my dad kept telling me, like, put him on child support, put him on child support. Like, he wants to be like that, put him on child support. And honestly, like, I used to be so like caring back then. I was like I don't want to do him like that. But I eventually listened to my dad and did it. So I remember my friend was like, one of my closest friends was with me, Celeste, and she was helping me fill out the child support papers. And like my son was 1 year old. Okay, well, look, I'm gonna talk about my delivery story and about like how my life was after I had my son in another video, so y'all stay tuned for that. But I'm gonna just finish the story with my baby daddy. So like, they didn't do the DNA test, or I didn't go to court until my son was 1 year old. And so like, for that whole year, my son had nothing to do with his dad. I was the one taking care of my kid. And like, thankfully for my family who were always there for me, they helped me a lot with my son. They helped me buy diapers, formula. My son was a fatty, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would get WIC, but like, they would only give you 7 like cans of formula, and so my grandma would have to eventually like buy 3 more cans of formula, and they cost $15 each. But yeah, like, thanks for my grandma for always being there for me, for buying everything that I needed. I honestly didn't need my baby daddy. Like, my son had everything he needed. He didn't have nothing that he didn't like need. I mean, he didn't have nothing that he needed, okay? That's what I meant. Like, he had so much clothes, wipes, diapers, toys, a crib, everything. And I took care of my son. Like, I took care of my kid, okay? Nobody else did. I took care of my kid. I was with my kid 24/7 every single day, and I still am, okay? But for a whole year, I took care of my kid, and I was doing homeschool at the same time. I would wake up in the morning. My grandparents would leave to work. They'll cook for us, you know, and then they'll come back like at 6 at night, and then they'll leave again, and they'll come back like at 9 or 10. But this was sometimes when they will come back at night. So I was like all day alone with my son. There'll be nights where I'll wake up in the middle of the night, or I wouldn't sleep at all because I was scared that my son wasn't gonna breathe. But yeah, so one whole year my son's baby daddy, my son's father was not in his life. Well, anyways, we went to court and they did a DNA test, and like a month later they called and they said like the DNA test came out 99.999% that my baby daddy was the father. Sorry, like I can't really talk to a camera, you know. I start stuttering a lot. I'm sorry, but okay, I forgot where I was at because my dad called me. But so yeah, after we went to court and after they did the DNA test, it came out 99.99999% that my son's father was the father. And so like from there, my baby daddy has been in my son's life. He picks him up every weekend or every one day out of the week, or like basically he's in his life. Him and his family, they love my son very much. So like they're there for my son now. Son's life, his family, they love him so much. So that's my story. I hope you guys like it. Stay tuned for more videos, and if you want to hear the story about my labor and delivery story, or after I had my son, how my life was as a teen mom, y'all stay tuned for that. Bye guys.